So in this question we're asked to find the length of the side x for this triangle, and so if we take a look at our triangle, we can see that we're clearly dealing with a right angle triangle because we've got this right angle here in the bottom right, and of course our hypotenuse is going to be our unknown in this question. And so at this point it should be setting off alarm bells that we basically want to use our trig identities, sine, cos and tan, to figure out what the length of this side is. And so I think the easiest way to remember your trig identities is to use this made up word SOHCAHTOA, which if you've watched through these videos you're probably sick of hearing by now. But it basically is just a way that you can remember when to use sine, when to use cos, and when to use tan, based on which information or which side lengths are given in the question. And so we can see here that we're given an unknown length for our hypotenuse, the longest side. And if we look across from our angle, so if we draw an arrow straight across in the triangle away from the angle that we're given, which is 40 degrees, we can see that the opposite side is going to be 12 centimeters, and so we can use that. Of course, when you're given a known angle, you can also figure out what the last angle is, because there's 180 degrees in the triangle and we have 90 degrees as well. So this up here would be 50 degrees. And so obviously that's kind of a long way to approach it, and it's a sort of a different path you can take to do this question, but we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to be sticking to this 40 degrees. And so the two sides that are involved based on this 40 degrees is going to be the opposite. So the opposite side to the 40 degrees, and also the hypotenuse, so the longest side. And so the one of our trig identities with the opposite and the hypotenuse is going to be sine. And so we're going to be using the sine of x now, or the sine of 40 in this case. So sine 40 is going to be equal to 12, which is the opposite, over the hypotenuse, which is going to be x. And so what I always like to do before actually using the calculator is just rearrange it. So we can see we've got x in the bottom of a fraction. You never really want x or y or anything in the bottom of a fraction if you can help it. And so what we can do is first of all multiply across by x. That is going to give us x times sine 40 is equal to 12. And then what we can do after that is simply divide across by sine 40. So then we end up with x is equal to 12 divided by sine 40. And so the point of doing that is that we can actually plug this value straight into our calculator now. So we can put in 12 over sine 40 straight in to get the exact angle, or the exact side length in this case, that we're looking for. And the main benefit of doing this, instead of just plugging it straight in up here on the top line, is just to make sure that we get the right decimal places and everything, so the answer is more accurate basically, and there's no rounding until the very end. And so when we do that, the length we get is going to be 18.67 centimeters, and that is going to be to two decimal places. So that's going to be our final answer, and that's going to be it for this video.